I'm walking through the entrance of the Hillfort at Pulpit Hill in Buckinghamshire near Cadsden. Of all the Chiltern Hillforts, this one's the smallest, at just a little over 2 acres or under a hectare, but it's got some very impressive defences. I'm coming up now out of the ditch on the western scarp slope side of Pulpit Hill. These defences are not quite as impressive as on the entrance side, and they didn't need to be. They've made good use of the contour of the hill. This chalk outcropping is the reason for building the Hillfort here. These trees wouldn't have been here in the past, and this site would have commanded amazing views across the Aylesbury Vale and all the way across to almost the River Thames. In fact, on a clear day even now, you can see across to Whitnham Clumps, which has its own Hillfort. Being such a small enclosed space, we're not exactly sure how much settlement, if any, took place here. In fact, our artist reconstruction shows the site being used as more of a signal platform. Now, we've no evidence whatsoever that fires were lit from any of these sites, but we can sort of imagine that if one wanted to be seen by Whitnham Clumps to the south or by Ivinghoe Beacon to the north, all you'd need to do was light a really big fire. Of course, the problem with this fantasy of the signal fires being visible across the scarp is chronology. Ivinghoe Beacon, we know, is constructed somewhere around 1050 BC. We haven't got a firm date for the construction of Pulpit Hill. It's very likely that it's somewhere between 500 and 300 BC. Were there still people at Ivinghoe Beacon to see the fire if it was ever lit? This is one of the difficulties of prehistory. Only excavation can give us better answers. One of the more intriguing aspects of this site is actually the outer earthwork. It's been flattened into sort of a berm or terrace, and we're not quite sure what it was used for. On other sites, these berms might have been used to support more roundhouses, further settlement, but we've no evidence yet for any interior development. So was there population pressure and the need to build more on the outside of the Hillfort? We just don't know. Excitingly, we might be able to do some geophysics to answer that question in the next year or two. Here in the interior of Pulpit Hillfort, there may indeed have been roundhouses or farming activity. Again, we just don't know. What we do know from the LiDAR results is that in a later period, the interior of the Hillfort was most likely heavily cultivated. And indeed, if you look closely at the LiDAR, you can see the lines of plough marks. Later on even, you can see behind me this earthwork, which is probably a late medieval or relatively modern woodland boundary, as this site was turned over to woodland plantation. Pulpit Hill, like Ivinghoe Beacon and West Wickham Camp, are under the management of the National Trust. You can learn more about all of these sites and how to visit them by going to our website, chilternsaonb.org.